Hey guys, so as you guys know, if you've been watching my recent videos, I was recently hired at our local hospital as a medical assistant. And so part of the um, onboarding process was that I had to go get fingerprinted and I had to do a drug test and a TB quantiferon blood test. And so I don't know if you guys have to get fingerprinted as healthcare professionals or healthcare employees in the state that you live in, but in the state of Michigan, you do have to get fingerprinted. Now, when I lived in Indiana, I did not have to get fingerprinted to work in healthcare. But like I said, different states have different requirements for their healthcare employees. So the morning that I went to get my drug test and TB test that I didn't even know about, I had to go to the hospital, obviously, which is the hospital where I will be working. Um, First of all, they had me do the drug test. So they called me back, and it was just one of those like, you pee in the cup and then they pull the label off and it tells you right then if it's positive or negative. And of course, everything was negative. Although I did write down what medications I'm on because I, in the past, have actually failed drug tests because of certain medications that I take. They can cause a false positive. So I made sure to write down like the medications that I take as well as the dosages of those medications just in case something was to pop up. So everything went fine with the drug test. It was negative. Um, and then as they were going to do the TB quantiferon blood test, which I'm actually glad that they did it that way instead of the TB skin test, because Indiana does the skin tests, and every time I get the skin test now, because I've had to do it like every year for multiple years, um, working in Indiana, my skin reacts to that skin test. Even though like it's not a positive, my skin gets red in that little area where they put the skin test at, and so it's not good. So I was glad to see that the hospital did the quantiferon blood test because literally all it is they draw blood and they test for TB. If you want more information specific about like the difference between a skin test and a quantiferon test, I can go into further detail in a different video about that, but it's literally just a blood test to see if you have had TB or if you have TB. So there's that. Now, this specific phlebotomist that did that blood test for me was a different one than the one that did my drug test. The phlebotomist, she said something that you should probably never say to a patient as a phlebotomist. So she had me make a fist. I did tell her before she even started to try to draw blood that sometimes I am a hard stick. Like there's been times I've been in the hospital where I almost needed a PICC line because they couldn't get blood from me. I've talked about that in previous videos as well. But thankfully, she didn't really have a problem finding the vein to get blood. But she had me make a fist and then she stuck the needle in. And as soon as she stuck the needle in, I don't know if she saw a flash or what, because I wasn't really paying attention. But she said, okay, you can let go of your fist now. And so I did. And then she said, oops, maybe I spoke too soon. And then she said, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? And I'm thinking, oh my God, what did this girl do to my arm? Like, what did she do? And that's why I say you probably shouldn't say that when a patient is in your chair getting blood drawn. Thankfully, everything was fine. Like, she didn't have to re-stick me or anything like that. But she did have a little bit of difficulty getting blood return at first. But eventually she was able to get enough to do the test. And so, like, I just found it very crazy that she would say, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? How do I fix this? I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Did she just like do something crazy that should never happen? Because in all my years of getting blood drawn and You know, I'm certified as a phlebotomist myself. I would never say that to a patient. And so it's a little bit scary that she would say that. Thankfully, she had a good sense of humor, and thankfully, I had a good sense of humor, um, because I've been through so much healthcare wise, like my own personal medical issues, as well as working in healthcare. I just go into things with a sense of humor. I try to be positive about stuff. So there was that. And then to talk about the fingerprinting drama, so I had to get fingerprinted, even though I got fingerprinted less than a year ago for my job at the school. Um, they still needed to fingerprint me. So the HR lady at the hospital made an appointment for me to come back the next day, which is the day after I did the drug test and the TB test, to get fingerprinted. So they do it on the hospital campus, but it's not like in the hospital building. There's a little like outbuilding where they do fingerprinting, and they kind of have like an education center and an epic training center there too. Um, so my appointment was at 2:10. I show up at like 5 to 2, because I didn't know if there was paperwork you needed to fill out or anything like that. So anyways, I show up. I'm the first person there because these people come from out of town, and they're only there for like 3 hours, 1 to 2 times a week to do fingerprints. And so um, the lady was having problems from the get go. I go in, she says, have a seat because my system, I'm trying to boot it up and it's just not booting up correctly or whatever. So I sit there. One other person comes in, she's still having problems. Another person comes in, she still can't get it to work. Finally, she restarts her whole system and she's able to get into the system, but she has no appointments. Like, it doesn't show that anybody is coming in to get fingerprints done that day, even though there's 3 of us there. We all had paperwork. Um, 2 of us, myself and one other person, were there as new hires for the hospital, and the other person was there as a walk-in appointment. I don't know where she was working. I think she said like home health and hospice or something like that. Anyways, she takes the walk-in first because obviously, since she has no list of appointments, she can't really tell whose appointment was at what time. I ended up being the last person to get fingerprinted, even though I was the first person there. Which, I mean, I guess whatever. Anyways, the appointment was supposed to last only 10 minutes, and I was there for an hour because she was having so many software problems and problems like trying to get people's fingerprints read correctly. Because, and I didn't realize this, like if your hands are dry, your fingerprints might not come out like they need to on the system or on the screen. Like, she kept having to roll my fingers, because they take one with your thumbs like this, and then they do each finger, and then they do like the 4 fingers together. And so she kept having problems, and she kept having problems because like she was trying to get my fingerprints like all close together on the screen, but because, as you can see, my pinky is a lot shorter than the rest of my fingers, and that's true on both hands, she was having problems. So she kept having to redo the one where you have to do the 4 fingers together. So we had a little bit of a problem, but thankfully everything's done. So now I can go to new hire orientation on Wednesday. I've been looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to, getting back to work and being able to make some money again. Because if you guys didn't know, like the day that I quit or resigned from the school was towards the end of January, and it's March now as I'm filming this. So just to give you guys some time frame on context. So anyways, I just thought that I would share those couple little interesting stories with you guys. If you guys have any questions, or if you'd like more medical assisting content from me now that I will be working as a medical assistant, let me know that, and I will get something filmed for you. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time.